Hello, everyone. Welcome back. We're at the final stretch. So this will be the lightning talk session, where we'll have short presentations from a number of speakers. So stay with us. So it'll be a bit of a ride. First up, we will have Bani, who's going to talk to us about the network that's been built this week and last week, the Wi-Fi, on all internet access you've had for the past couple of days. Bani?
Thank you, Mark. Yes. Okay, full house. So it takes a village. So thank you to all the people who helped advise and give their inputs on the network and actually lay down the cables and infrastructure. So of course, Philip, Mark, Maz, of course, Sir Achi, months before, and Sir Richie with convincing PLDT to sponsor some of the stuff. Art and Shane from APNIC, the IT of the hotel, Sir Ronald and Jasper. Of course, from my team, Alvin and Jaros. A guy from University of Guam, Randy. Then from PLDT, it's Romel, Jervic, and Michael. And from Converge, Ma'am Glay, JR, Diane, Ira, and Sir Rain. Okay, so we have this real estate in the hotel that we need to network up. Our wide area network sponsor is PLDT and Converge for our transit. The network gear that we hold into the hotel, it's a Cisco Cisco ASR 9K series router and a Juniper SRX 4200 router. 2 core switches, Juniper both. Edge switches in the rooms would be the Aruba HP ProCurve, which cascades into a Cisco Meraki bridge or switch that provides power going to the actual Cisco Meraki M36 and MR20 Wi-Fi APs. Okay, so for PLDT, it was an easy job for them. They had already facilities in the hotel. So they only needed to haul the fiber from somewhere in the network room in the hotel, going to the small room at the service entrance where all the UTP cables from all the ballrooms that we're using goes back to. For Converge, it was quite difficult for them. We are, we are here. This is the reclaimed area. This is Lime Hotel. And Converge had to go through this POP somewhere across the major highway. And this whole facility is like a government theater, arts setup. You have the cultural center there. You have the Manila Theater there. So it's government controlled, and they had to get approval from the central office in within the government ministry here to lay their fiber. The reason I emphasize that is if you will walk, this is Sofitel area here. This is the walkway going to Lime Hotel over here, where we usually had our social dinners last week. You would see their fiber, which is actually exposed, because they had a hard time convincing the government office within this facility to lay their fiber. So what's happening is they lay their fiber, there's an event, after the event, they pull out their fiber. Instead of them just having a proper fiber layout, leaving it there so that if there are next events or future customers, the fiber is already there. So the reason I emphasize that is this is actually the state of most of the fiber laying companies here in the Philippines. If you're a carrier or a small ISP, government is not too friendly in building infrastructure. Okay, so it comes out of this manhole, it goes through the sidewalk. If you can see, this is Converge's report. their official report, and they labeled it as a bear. So actually, it went down last week because we don't know the reason, but probably somebody tripped or vandalized the fiber, and it went down. So it goes from this manhole, going across this sidewalk bare, going up this pole, going aerial towards the hotel. If you walk on the parking lot, when you go out, turn right, you can actually see the aerial fiber there. Okay, it went through inside the service area here at the back of the stage, going into this small network room over there. So that was Converge's story to get their connectivity to us. Okay, in terms of the network, it's fairly straightforward. During the workshop week last week, basically 2 ISPs, 2 sets of routers, 2 sets of switches meshed together. There's a DMZ for the typical DNS and DHCP run by Ubuntu software. Of course, our plenary, Paul Vixie, so we installed the ISC DNS and DHCP, then LibreNMS to monitor things. Then there's the Aruba switches on top, cascaded to Meraki PoE switches going to the Wi-Fi. And our Wi-Fi sponsor is also PLDT, and they use the Meraki. Then for the conference week, just moved some of the switches from the workshop rooms going to Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao. Then more or less the same setup. The difference is last week, the workshops needed their own Ethernet drops and needed their own VLANs. For this week, it's the APNIC audio video guys, Christian and the rest, that needed their separate network for the audio video streaming. Okay, so PLDT ring, we are getting around 920,000 routes, more or less. And we're advertising 1/20, the apricot prefix for IPv4. For IPv4, for Converge, we're getting around 944. So take note of the difference. We're getting around 927,000 from PLDT. We're getting around 944,000 from Converge, IPv4 prefixes. Then in terms of IP version 6 from PLDT, we're getting around 172,000 routes. From Converge, we're getting around 175,000 routes, more or less. We are using the Converge link a lot. Most of our traffic is going there, and PLDT traffic is quite low. Okay. In terms of the, so that's the wide area network. In terms of the local area network, PLDT is our Wi-Fi, and my team is the one handling the routing and the switching. So in the first floor near the APNIC Secretariat, the registration area, there's a Wi-Fi at the end of the hallway, a Wi-Fi inside the APNIC Secretariat room, and a Wi-Fi near Zoe's place in the Registrar Secretariat. On the second floor, meetings are moving there. So we're just adapting and putting Wi-Fi in the rooms where they need to have the meetings. In terms of the ballroom, this is more or less how the Wi-Fi setup looks like. It's on the sides and somewhere in the middle in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. Okay. So this is a typical Wi-Fi speed test that we got at nighttime. Around 340 download for 25 upload. Okay, some timelines. Apricot officially started Feb 20. The router was here around 7 days before, Feb 13, more or less. We connected it to the PLDT equipment around Feb 15, did some ping tests, and PLDT BGP session was established around 18th, 2 days before the conference. The Converge link was up. Ping tests were done 3 days before the conference, and BGP session came up Feb 20 on the first day of the conference. Okay, so before Converge went up, we only had the PLDT as our transit, and some random sites were timing out. So we were talking with the PLDT, checking our own configuration if there were any mistakes, checking back with PLDT. There was a lot of levels before you could get to the BGP guy there. So we had to wait for a reply. Then it was already, like 1 a.m. Still, we were getting timeout on some random websites. So we decided to put a static route just to, patch it up and have the local area network up and running. So that's Feb 19. Then tomorrow, Feb 20, is the start of the workshop week. It's the first day of the workshop. Then Feb 21, the Converge IPv6 BGP session came up. Okay, so on the night of the 21st, we decided to test if everything would work, if the static route was removed, because we got a message from PLDT that they were giving us the full routes. So, okay, we'll test after the people have gone. So Feb 21, we removed the static route. Everything seems stable. So, okay, they're giving us a full route. All good. Then so the workshop week went through from 20 to 20 something plus 5 days. Then eventually, Feb 26, there was a fiber cut with Converge there on the actual sidewalk where the bare fiber was exposed. Okay, so when Converge went down again, some static, some random websites were again timing out. So obviously, we weren't getting full routes from PLDT. So the static route was put back in again, and everything worked again. Okay, so that's it for the routing. Some issues on the second day, more or less, Luzon and Mindanao, Wi-Fi seems unstable. So we had to reconfigure the placement and replace some of the APs. This one, a bit ironic, we got access to the Meraki dashboard on Feb 28 because we were blind on the Wi-Fi. We had to go through the red tape of the Wi-Fi sponsor to get the dashboard because they don't usually give the dashboard to the events that they sponsor. Okay. So finally, we got an access on Feb 28. We could see the stats and everything that would help us, check the Wi-Fi situation. And yeah. On March 1, lots of complaints on the Visayas room next to us about the Wi-Fi. So we had to reconfigure some things there. Then last challenge today on the opening, we had some network issues. So I think, yeah, that's the last of my slides, and that's a network update for the Apricot conference.
Any questions for Bani about the network? No. Okay. Thank you, Bani. Next up, we shall have Arnold. What's brand new at PeeringDB? Or what's brand new on PeeringDB? Always happens.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So good afternoon. Yeah, I'm Arnold Nipper from DKIX, and I'm also working for PeeringDB. I just want to give you a quick update on PeeringDB. Oh, no. Oh, this is forward. Just to repeat, who knows what PeeringDB is? There's still a few who do not know. So actually, every one of you knows what the internet is. And the internet is not just one network, but thousands of networks, hundreds of thousands of networks, and they have to interconnect. And to interconnect, you have to find out the interconnection data for your peers. And this is where PeeringDB came in. So PeeringDB stores all the information you need to know to interconnect with your partners. So what you find is, first, of course, the data for networks, for ASN, and then for internet exchange points, and for facilities. This is the information what you need. And this is stored in PeeringDB. So there's also the laser light. Here you see the statistics. We have information about 100,000 exchanges, 20,000, 7,000 networks, 5,000 facilities, and for campuses and carriers that we'll talk about later. So, and PeeringDB, I guess you won't believe, though it's a legal organization, it's almost run 100% by volunteers. So all the work is divided in so-called committees. We have the admin committees, which more or less is the support department. Tickets are coming in. We are using a ticketing system. If you want to register via PeeringDB, it's always create the ticket, and this is handled by our admin committee. Then, of course, underneath, there is an infrastructure. We have services, a web server, the database service. This is handled by our operations committee. Then we do also marketing. This is handled by our outreach committee. And last but not least, there is a continuous development, and this is handled by our product committee. As said, we are an organization of volunteers, and we are currently looking for new volunteers. If you want to apply, please send in emails to stuart@list.peeringdb.com. We are looking currently for new volunteers for the admin, outreach, and the operations committee. This is how we do in terms of support tickets. You see, currently per day, roughly 30 tickets are coming in, and we are doing not so bad. You see, tickets are roughly resolved within less than 8 hours, which is quite good, seen over the whole month and the whole year. So what's new? I told you we have information about networks, about internet exchanges, and about facilities. And what we thought, what we are still missing, this is all on layer 3, more or less. And we thought it's a good idea to also have a carrier object which then should be able to describe the links between facilities. So, and although a carrier is not very well defined, we understand, or what we mean with a carrier is someone who offers layer 1 and layer 2 services. So an ASN, it's always coupled with internet, which is the layer 3. A carrier is someone who offers layer 2 and layer 1 services. You see, for AVIC Enterprise, you see on the right-hand side, if you go to an organization in PeeringDB, you see whether they have facilities, networks, exchanges, and this is new. Carrier, they are also offering carrier services. This is relatively new. This was only added a month ago. And you can also see in our blog session more about information on carriers. The second, what we introduced, this was only last week. This is the campus object. And what is a campus? You all know what a facility is. And sometimes you find facilities belonging to the same organization, more or less, just nearby. And we did not really have a structure for that. So with the new campus object, what you can do is you can group together more than 2 facilities, or more than 1 facility actually, into a campus object. And what we will further do is to put even more structure in it so that you can see probably how these facilities which are in the campus object are related to each other. Again, the term campus is not very well defined. So some say a campus has to have a size of some 100 kilometers. Others say, okay, it does not make sense because there are even larger ones. Some say it should not go beyond a metropolitan network. Others are arguing, okay, let's everything which is within the reach of an LR is a campus. So that's completely up to the organization who wants to define the campus object. Meanwhile, we do planning. We have releases almost every month. We just did the latest release last week. The next release is planned for March 22nd. And what we do, internal testing, then we always have a beta release where you also can see what's new. You can test your production system, your provisioning system against the beta. And then after a week, we deploy it to production. For this year, we already implemented our main goals. This was the new carrier object and the new campus object. And we will have updates with small features and bug features with every new release. What we still want to do is to finalize the so-called data ownership task force. We have some objects, for example, like connection to an internet exchange, where we more or less have a race condition who has the final authority about this object. Because on one hand side, the network is putting in information. On the other hand side, the addresses come from the internet exchange. So, and both of these information have to be consistent. And I guess it's already 3 years ago where we introduced these data ownership, and only if both information from the network and from the internet exchange match, then the object is valid. What we did not yet do is that we automatically remove stale connections from internet exchange. And what we perhaps also will do is put in more data ownership, because you may also have currently any network can say, okay, I'm in this facilities. What we already implemented is with the new carrier object is a carrier object will only show up if the facility says, okay, yes, I recognize this carrier and this carrier really is in my facility, and only if the facility approves it, then the carrier will show up. I guess this will make sense. Whereas for the networks, it's really hard to find out, because most of the facility owner, they allow for subleasing space. So that means someone has rented a rack or even more, and then they sublease it, subrent it to other organizations. So the facility is not able to find out who really, or whether the network is there or not. But for a carrier who has a layer 1 and layer 2 service, which directly go physically has to come in to the facility. The facility owner should know whether the carrier is there or not. So, and that's almost at the end of my presentation. Just so PeeringDB does not cost any money. On the other hand, it costs money for running it and for developing it, and therefore we rely on sponsorship. There are different sponsorship levels, and everyone is happily invited to sponsor. And a big thanks also, of course, goes to our sponsors. And that's the end of my presentation already. Thank you.
Thank you, Arnold. Any questions for Arnold from the floor?
So if you have questions, please speak slow, loud, because I'm hearing impaired. It's not that I do not want to answer questions. Okay, obviously not. I'm still around. I'm over there. You can come to me as well.
Thank you so much.
Handing over to
Dave is up next to talk about the Pacific IXP.
So hello, so I'm Dave, and I think I'm wearing the NZIX hat for this one. So I'm here to talk about the Pacific IXP, which is a sort of new concept or project that we're trying to put together.
Yes.
So the Pacific IXP is basically a proposal to form a multi-country IXP in the South Pacific region. So that's hoping to link Fiji, Samoa, and New Zealand together. So the kind of precursor to this project was some research that was done in terms of the connectivity around the Pacific. And as part of this research, we kind of divided the Pacific into 2 different zones. And what I'm going to concentrate on this talk is the South Pacific Island Group. So adding a bit more detail to that map, this is a map with all of the fiber links around the South Pacific, and also the latency on each link to show kind of what logically fits together and what should be logically joined together. And then if you overlay our 3 main countries of interest, so New Zealand, Samoa, and Fiji onto this map, that's how it kind of fits together from both a latency and a submarine cable path. Auckland, New Zealand, maybe not in the kind of global scheme, but in our part of the world, Auckland's a major internet node. It's where quite a few cloud CDNs and other sources of content actually come to. But a whole lot of that content and CDNs doesn't tend to come to the sort of smaller South Pacific countries. These are some other countries that might be able to link into this IXP if it's formed. So all of these countries are 1 or 2 hops away in terms of submarine cable fibers from either Fiji, Samoa, or New Zealand. We've done some surveys to all of the South Pacific countries that we're targeting. The response has generally been very receptive. Most people are saying they would join if this was financially affordable, and the surveys are actually ongoing. So if you've seen a survey and you haven't answered, it'd be great to see a response. If you want to give a response and you've not been surveyed, then get in contact with me. So there's been a task force formed. We went to Fiji, I think October last year, had a meeting at the United Nations office. It's the UN that's actually heading up this project. So a task force has been formed. We've got the UN SCAP on that task force. Paul Brooks is the consultant that did the initial work. Myself and Chris from NZIX. We've got representatives from the both Samoa IX, which is an IX that doesn't quite yet exist, and from the Samoan government. And we've got representatives from the Fijian government and also from their telecommunications authority. We've also managed to sucker Ali in from APNIC because she's got a lot of Pacific contacts and sounds like a very useful person to have on board. What the task force is hoping to do is actually spin up an organization that exists and is run by a committee, and that is the organization will actually own equipment and operate the IX. So far we've had a signed letter of support from the Fijian government, from the Samoan government, The New Zealand government wasn't actually keen on doing this letter. They want to leave this to the kind of private entities or the organisations that do this in New Zealand. So instead, NZIX has written a letter of support, which is enough for the UN to kind of do their red tape. So how can NZIX support this project? So we've got a fabric already formed between 5 Auckland POPs, which is what makes up Auckland IX. We've got experience in running IXPs. Probably the real key thing is we've actually got relationships with many content providers and clouds. We've got connections to all of those content providers and clouds. And potentially, I'm not saying this is what we'll do, but we could provide pseudo wires from those content providers to the Pacific IXP's POP in Auckland if required. So really that's just a brief update on the project. I'm happy to take some questions. You're happy to come find me. Myself, Chris Browning and Jocelyn are all around this week and we're all involved. So find any of us and chat to us. Any questions?
My name's Warren from APNIC. This is more a general question about, did you survive the water inundation last month?
I was fine. I was in the kind of right part of the country, but yeah, the Hawke's Bay is just devastated. Like Napier, which is like a small city, just got cut off from a power point of view, fibre point of view. A massive subdivision ended up like under 2 meters of water. That's going to take months to rebuild. The East Coast, yeah, it's not good. And then Auckland, 2 weeks before that, had flooding as well. So they've still got issues there. So it's been, yeah, bad couple of weather events. Yeah. Any other questions about either weather or the Pacific IXP?
Hi, Jose Santiago from University of Guam. If the IX were to disappear, how impactful would that be for the members?
Well, that's a really interesting question. I could probably talk for a long while on this, but I think part of the problem with this project right now is a lot of the people involved haven't decided what problem they're trying to solve. Right now, I believe that some of the countries in the South Pacific region get uplinks from different parts of the world. So some countries mainly get served from Sydney, others get served from Asia, and others get served from the US. Now, what that might mean is countries communicating with each other might go like a massive loop around the Pacific, and it's not great for latency. So I think initially the project wants to solve the ISP to ISP connectivity, which is a hundreds of megabits problem. However, in Auckland, we've got a lot of, as I said, CDNs, clouds, and all that. So we can solve that problem where we start getting a whole lot of content to these countries. The problem there is that becomes a tens or hundreds of gigabits problem. And then if that breaks, we suddenly become critical infrastructure, and it's really bad if we break. The other big problem I see is if we go down this path is we start asking submarine providers for free or cheap connectivity. And then if we then start ruining the ISPs in these islands sort of business by kind of competing against them, we're not going to get free or cheap connectivity from the submarine providers. So this is something we have to really look at. Probably not right now. It's probably more the job of the committee we form to decide, are we trying to solve ISP connectivity or content and cloud and CDN connectivity? Because they're just very different things to solve. Anything else?
All right, fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next up, we'll have Shibao-san talking about the DNS.
Hi, I'm Naoki from Japan and came with JPNIC Fellowship. Today, I'm going to talk about authoritative DNS service. Since 2020, the volunteer teams at DNS Operators Group Japan, DNS Ops JP, has been investigating the features of managed DNS service. Our goal is to create a table that lists these features with the expectation that using managed DNS services appropriately can increase the stability of DNS operation and name resolutions. We aim to provide a reference for DNS operators at organizations to select suitable managed DNS services for their specific use cases. Here is my investigation about how usually is managed DNS services used in the wild. My investigation is based on the hypothesis that we can create data by examining the currently used authoritative DNS services. There are many managed DNS services. So I researched domain names from 7 different fields. This chart shows status about authoritative DNS servers in various fields. Each of various fields has its own unique characteristics. But the important things are Japanese government domains tend to use global services, and financial institutes tend to use Akamai. And most of global services used by financial institutes is Akamai. Next, this chart shows status about configuration of DNS servers. As you know from this, many domains are operated by only one services. And the important things are financial institutes tend to use multiple services compared to others, and most of high educational institutes run their own plus Signet. It's Japan's academic network. Now, ongoing investigation, I'm crawling many organizations, mostly companies, domain names. Sorry. In Japan, most of organizations tend to use some kind of service rather than on-premise. Organization in mission critical are running their own plus managed service. And some organizations tend to use the authoritative DNS service of a company located in the area where the organization is located. And many of organizations use managed DNS services. In the future, I would like to investigate about many domain names that crawl from other sources, and not limited in Japan, but globally. Next, investigation is authoritative name server. This investigation is done by one of the volunteer team at the DNS Operators Group Japan. Actually use several managed DNS services as a DNS operator of registrar, and summarize the pros and cons of each service from her perspective. First, IIJ managed DNS service, authoritative DNS service provided by IIJ. It can be both primary, secondary. It costs $50 per month. Second, Interlink Omakase DNS, authoritative DNS service provided by Interlink. It can be both primary, secondary. It costs $9 per month and one domain. It can accommodate carry on domain name. Last, DESEC, authoritative DNS service provided by non-profit company based on Berlin free for charge. Globally distributed instances aiming for DNSSEC deployment, no warranty. This is the evaluation of each service. If you are interested, you can see it from the presentation file. It is important for users that process from the contracting procedure to the start of service use is easy. It is only after they have actually signed the contract and start using the service that they will know if the process was really easy or not. From the user's point of view, the availability and integrity of service is difficult to see from the publicly available information. Availability and integrity are important when a failure occurs. So users need to check them carefully before starting to use service. The most function service has the better, not the less, the worse. Each service has its own pros and cons, so users should choose according to their requirements. We have survey items that we have yet to visualize and scale. We would like to trigger users to use the services like restaurant reviews. We will continue to investigate services with diverse feedback. Our activity is well accepted by Japanese DNS operators community and continuously updating in response to feedback from the community. Full version of this presentation will be available at ICANN 76 Tech Day. Please stay tuned. I would like you to interested in this activity. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Naoki-san? All right. Thank you so much. Next up, we'll have Philip-san. Talking about the peering toolbox. There you go. Thank you. Yep.
Sorry, I forgot I was talking about something. I was busy trying to work out what I'm talking about in the closing plenary. Anyway, right. Okay. So this is just a quick update for the peering toolbox. We originally proposed it for the peering forum, but we had quite a busy agenda there. So the program committee kind of said, well, it's a quick talk, so let's try and fit it in here. So basically, with one of the hats that I have, I'm basically the helping EuroX put together what's basically trying to document peering best practices. Kind of funny because in the previous session here I was having a bit of a rant about lack of documentation in the industry in general. And guess what? Here is another thing that's lack of documentation. So we're trying to make up for basically what we have all known about for many, many years. So one thing I want to note is really the evolution of the internet as we know it. 20 years ago, internet service providers provided the transit, enterprise networks just bought internet access from the transit providers and the access providers, and that was it. But what's happening now is enterprises are kind of, we need to be in control of our destiny, control of where we get our content, and control of all the services and accessing cloud and all the rest. And so they're much more interested in figuring out how to be part of the peering ecosystem. You know, did we do peering personals 20 years ago? Not really, because most of the operators were there, they already knew what was happening and so forth. Now we've got so many newcomers, and they're not just the service providers either. So really what's happening now is a change in the relationship. We no longer outsource to the access transit provider. Businesses, end users, end sites, end operators are trying to figure out what transit means, what all these exchange points are, and even trying to do direct peering. As you know, if you peer with a CDN, it doesn't really happen over the IX apart from the first instance. They're looking for PNIs and direct cross connects and so forth. So how does, I suppose, a bigger or mid-sized enterprise deal with things like that? So we now have staff in those organizations taking on roles that the ISP used to do. So figuring out the IP address space, gone are the days where you just go to your upstream provider and they figure it out for you. You're becoming a member of the registry and dealing with that relationship, getting your AS number, figuring out this strange BGP stuff, understanding what peers mean, all the costs and so forth, and really understanding what the peering community is all about. So there's an awful lot to learn. Who do we speak to? What are the best practices? How to deal with network problems and outages and so forth. So solution is really this, and it's documenting what's in a lot of our heads. A lot of us have done a lot of training over the years, explaining how peering and interconnects and everything else works, a lot of things that we take for granted. And so we've really started off, so it's a project being promoted by EuroIX, but of course it's not a EuroIX thing, it's really for the wider community globally. So a lot of support, a lot of organizations have started kicking this off. But again, it's getting the focus, and this is really where my involvement is, to try and build a lot of this content together. And the idea is to provide a learning structure, documenting the best practice information for new entrants to the community. And it really is just a toolbox, documenting what we know. Target audience is everybody involved with peering, which means the service providers, enterprises, content providers, research and education networks, and exchange points. The website is live. It went live, well, what was it, 2 months ago? I still have a lot of feedback to process. We've got a lot of good feedback on what's already there. Still some issues to be updated. So far, what I've done is we've got the beginners section mostly in place, and it goes over all the fundamentals of address space and so forth. Website is focused on learning rather than trying to do screeds and screeds and screeds of text. We've tried to keep it small pieces where people have got specific questions they are asking. They can get fairly clear, I hope they're clear, and direct answers for what they want to do. So the idea is to make it easy for new entrants, explain some of the terminologies. And as we develop this, we're going to have sections about covering intermediate and advanced. And this is really why I'm talking here, is appealing to the experts here in the community. I'm supposed to give feedback in the beginning section, but also to share advice, tricks, techniques that they are aware of and would like to share to help other members of the community. And of course, explaining how we use IXPDB and the peering DB that Arnold was talking about earlier. Oops. So that's pretty much it. So this is a taste. I just did some screenshots of the website so you can see what it looks like. Yeah, and well, the screenshots explain themselves. We've got all these different sections. They're all clickable, and you can basically navigate around to find the bits that you want. Anyway, hope that's interesting. If you would like to help out, jump on the website, drop an email to the mailing list. Bijal from EURIX team and other folks around who've been helping helping with awareness of this. Please don't leave it just to the few of us to put together. It's very much an effort that we're hoping that all of you can contribute to as well. That's pretty much it. Thank you very much.
Any questions for Philip?
Good. No, thank you.
Next up, we'll have Sushiya-san. He has 2 back-to-back talks. So,
Thank you.
so it will be
Which one?
the zero trust security model, as well as the
Okay.
silicon one.
Okay. Hi, my name is Shisho Tsuchiya. My presentation is light routing 2022 and future hold merchant silicon-based routing systems. I'm a work at Arista since 2017, and I also work at Cisco between the 2000 and 2016. I will share the Arista technique and Cisco's summer technique, which is already presentation on January somewhere. And this is from routing 2022, Jefferson applicable 2023, the APOPS 2. That he reported to the BGP routing table in the until 2022, and he is summarized these comment for the operated and know your network limit and review your routing setting, and default route can be helpful. My presentation is response over this comment to from a vendor perspective. This is Broadcom DNX family. Broadcom has 3 types of silicon family, and the DNX is basically sometimes called the Jericho, and the Jericho is sometimes used as storage and Hadoop network and routing systems. And as I already mentioned, the merchant silicon is growing per 2 years, and not only bandwidth capacity, but also internet table will also is increased per 2 years. This is a comparison of growth, internet growth and the merchant silicon-based routing system capacity growth. And the plot from the APNIC, I plotting IPv4 routing table and V6 routing table and the total. And also I from APNIC blog, BGP in 2022, the routing table. And also I plotting DNX-based routing system and our data sheet. When the 2025, 2050 and BGP routing, merchant silicon not yet not can support internet routing, but nowadays we merchant silicon is has enough capacity over the internet routing. We have I will introduce some option for the support internet routing internet table growth. And option one is, as you might know, route control by upstream provider. And if upstream provider manage route on the upstream provider, then the BGP, upstream BGP advertise partial route or default route, then the BGP, then the system is stable. And but the concern is if this option is selected, then the downstream router cannot know the internet full route. And the next option 2 is FIB control by the routing administrator. If the system receives BGP read, after that best path selection is occurred, and they make the routing table. After that, forwarding information base FIB. And some vendor include Arista and Cisco has some install control on the based on the traffic distribution. For example, Arista EOS has a BGP selective routing download. It is described this topic. And also Cisco IOS XE, like AS1K has a table map, and Cisco IOS XR has a table policy. Presentation is topic on the January 37. If you are interested in this topic, then please check this URL. And this is IP prefix size counting comes from the figure from the BGP blog. And as you found, most of our prefix is 24. 24 prefix is the most of the prefix. So we have a FIB optimization technique. FIB has basically two tables, LEM and LPM. Trust 32 and 128 for the IPv6. Host route installed to the LEM, and the prefix is installed to the LPM normally. And the BGP router does not require big, data center switches require the big LEM table, but a BGP router does not require LEM table, but it requires LPM. So vendor providing some option prefix brings base installed to the LEM. This is our implementation. If our IP hardware FIB optimize exact match prefix length 24, then these prefix into the LEM. And also iOS XR NCS has also using a Broadcom-based system, and it also supporting this feature. And also we have a complexion technique. Complexion means when after the install the LEM or LPM, and most of our BGP router is same next hop. And the optimization you also use index for the several routes. Yeah, my presentation ended. Summary is merchant silicon FIB capacity increase every 2 years. FIB optimized solution exists like a selective downloader, FIB optimization, and also compression. My presentation ended. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Shishio-san. Any questions? No? Okay. think we can carry on with the next. Next is you as well.
Okay. Sorry. And next is the zero trust security model. It is a completely different topic than the BGP. And this is a zero trust security model. Zero trust security model is never trust, always verify. It means device should not be trusted by the default, even if they are connected to the permissioned network, such as a corporate LAN, and even if they are previous verified. NIST defined tenet over zero trust, and NIST defined 7 tenets over zero trust. And number 2 and number 7 is for the should be network-based solution. Number 2 is all communication is secured regardless of a network location. And number 7 is the enterprise collected as much information as possible about current state of asset, network infrastructure and communications, and use it to improve its secure posture. And this is SOC visibility triad, and there is several solutions for security, like EDR, endpoint detection and response, and also SIEM, security information and event management, and UEBA, user and entity behavior analysis. The presentation focus on the NDR. NDR is a network detection and response. Comprehensive network visibility to detect proactivity response to the threat and special behavior. And how to work in the NDR? AI and machine learning is useful, and the correct packet from all network devices, and the device user application profiling tracking, and detect complex threat, and automated triage and investigation and response. This is a use case of NDR. I don't describe it all of the topic, but the presentation will be shared in the Apricot 2023 website. As you can check the use case and later. But in the NDR, we can detect several behavior like RDP or IP phone and IP camera and the legacy email. And also this use case detected some spy activity. Yeah, this is my end of my slide. Summary is introduce network-based security, NDR for zero trust security model, and the use case. We should consider for the zero trust security model, how to monitor, how to capture the user to get user network behavior, and how to profile this information. It can use for AI or machine learning. My presentation ended. Thank you for attention.
Thank you, Shishio-san. Any questions? Oh, hold on, there is a question.
Hi, Jose Santiago, University of Guam. In the last thing, you're looking about monitoring user behavior. Is there a concern about breach of privacy?
Privacy. This model is have to consider profiling user information, and most of the use cases tracking or Active Directory or some directory. So it is, yeah, it is, I agree. It is depend on the user's privacy.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right. We'll have our last presentation by Vivian. Talking about data centers. Vivian? No, Vivian? No. I guess then that's it. Anyone else has anything you want to share, perhaps? We have a lot of time to kill. Yeah, sure.
Probably a comment from the Zoom chat window done by Mark Pryor. At OSNOG, I ran the program. We didn't have a separate committee when I was a director. I'm not so sure if it relates to this.
He ran the program. They didn't have a separate committee, like a program committee.
Oh, then, yeah. So I think he said that wasn't supposed to be public, but the comment made in Zoom public chat, and it is supposed to be read out. So,
Not actually sure what that means, but okay.
sorry, Mark.
No worries. Anyone else wants to share anything? Nope. All right. That's it. Early tea break. Okay then. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.